Hi there. Welcome back to Even More News, the first and only Tuesday podcast, maybe. My name is Katy Stoll.
Hi, how you doing?
Okay, that's the third time I've done the intro, and I keep getting notes.
It was good all three times.
I think it was okay. None of the times.
I thought you nailed it all three times, but especially this time. Thank you so much, Katy. I'm Cody. I was going to say I'm also here, but that's not fair to somebody else.
Oh, how dare you?
How dare you?
Sorry.
Don't tread on him.
The J-Hive will come for you.
I wouldn't dare.
Jonathan is also here, folks.
I am.
News. Boy, do we have some of that.
Trump's big announcement happened today. The announcement is he signed an executive order saying that we're lowering drug prices, that we're putting into effect a policy whereby the United States will only pay what the country that pays the lowest for drugs will pay. This only applies to Medicare stuff. It doesn't work this way. Obviously, you can't. The president doesn't say he wants to do this. Obviously, lowering drug prices in a vacuum, good. We pay too much. Let's not pay as much.
Real quick before we get into the details, sorry. So this was the big announcement?
This was the big announcement, yes.
Okay, so it wasn't about the Middle East as he said it would be, and it wasn't the half of a trade deal with the UK.
Did he say it was about the Middle East? I think he just said there was going to be a big announcement at the same time when he was talking about the Middle East separately. Okay. And it may have sounded because he said this has been a problem for a long, long time. But
but this is the big one.
This is the announcement, I believe. Okay. It's a little unclear with this guy what we're actually doing. He did send out this huge, long Truth Social post, the biggest thing ever.
Vance loved it, by the way. He's taken to screenshotting all of Trump's truths and posting those screenshots. Every single time Trump truths, he's post a screenshot.
That's a big part of his job, Cody. I don't know
exactly.
If you're
you
aware.
got a screenshot from your boss's other website and then post it on your other boss's website.
What would you do, Cody, if I quote tweeted you with "bosses on fire" today? Like it would. How would that make you feel? In here?
I would probably ask you what's this tweet referencing?
Whose
tweet are you parodying with your tweet is what I would ask you.
What Katy and Cody would do in that exact same scenario is very different. Katy would be like, am I?
But 100%. I'd be like, Jonathan, thank you.
You're on fire.
Quote, tweet, retweet,
wow.
Little fire emoji. That's what I would do.
Okay, well, I want to dig into this a little bit so people don't think we just have Trump derangement syndrome, right? He's trying to do something good. We pay too much for drug prices. Let's pay less. There have been efforts,
to pay less.
typically by the Democratic Party, to either make it so that Medicare and Medicaid can negotiate with drug companies collectively for lower prices. Something like this was put into the Inflation Reduction Act, so it's actually going to be happening over time. So a lot of the drug prices going down could be attributed to that.
It's Trump stuff. It's what Trump's doing.
But also, all it says is it's the most favored nation policy. So we will pay the equivalent of what the lowest price country pays, which makes me think that a lot of those other countries will just have their prices go up.
Which I don't love either.
That seems likely. They're not going to be like, okay, America, the richest nation in the world, simply pay this low price. They're just going to raise prices.
Right.
And so that we have to keep paying a lot.
And it is very complicated why the US pays more. By the way, we pay more for brand name drugs. We don't pay more for generic drugs. We actually pay less for most generic drugs, but we pay so much more for those brand name drugs. It kind of doesn't even offset it. We still pay a lot more.
A lot of the generic brands are very expensive too, but
on average. So yeah, it's very complicated, but part of it is that in other countries, they have national health services and universal health care where the government can negotiate drug prices collectively, which is kind of what Trump is trying to do here. But of course, we don't have the, Medicare for all system to back it up. So kind of unclear what will happen.
It is very unclear. It's an executive order. It's not something substantive. I think that we would all love to see the needle moved in the cost of drug prices, but it is also a drop in the bucket of this whole system that you just articulately said was complicated, Jonathan, and it is. I think the conversation online was very interesting afterward. I mean, we're still waiting for details and more information, etc. But a lot of the framing of like, oh, can't wait to see Democrats completely shit all over this because they're actually in bed with Big Pharma. There was some criticism of, what are we, socialists now?
I've seen a lot of that.
And a lot of people flip-flopping about this specific conversation about, it being proposed in the past or conversations of this ilk. And of course, we don't want that because it's socialist. But now, actually, the way Donald Trump will do it is perfect and beautiful and the epitome of capitalism. I don't know. Very confusing to get a real temp pulse out there.
Yeah, it's actually pretty insidious and dishonest. I think I've seen a lot of people be like, "Wow, Trump is a socialist." That's not what this is. I've seen that from a lot of like the Jonah Goldbergs of the world, a lot of like right wing like Never Trump folks, and a lot of proud neoliberal centrist accounts. Who run like neoliberal accounts, be like, wow, Trump's a socialist, price fixing, this. Like, that's not what that word means at all. It's very, very dishonest. And first of all, does that mean like when Buttigieg was working at McKinsey, he was doing socialism when they fixed bread prices? I don't think so. But it is another attempt to just weirdly punch left and demonize the left while you're criticizing Trump and trying to frame them. It's like this. It's like, what is this weird resentment you have that forces you to use words incorrectly to like demonize people to your left when the guy, he's over there, he's right over there. What are you doing? It's very, very gross, actually.
Well, because Trump is none of these things. He's not like, obviously Trump is extremely right wing when it comes to immigration and several other things, but he also just wants to dictator his way to like people liking him, right? He wants people to like him. He's like, well, what can I do? Everyone wants drug prices lowered, so I'll do that. Like, even in dictatorships, since one person gets to decide what happens, they will sometimes do things that people like. But they're not, well, in this situation, he's running up against the constitutional constraints, so we'll see the lawsuits. There should be legislation that does this, etc. But also, there are back-end effects to this. And I don't know if that is in R&D. I don't know if it's the prices of other things going up. I don't know if it's certain, drug companies from other countries pulling out of the U.S. market. People can't get their pills. I don't know what this means, but he is not thinking of second and certainly not of third order impacts.
No.
He's just being like, lower the thing.
On the
so
paper,
people like me,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
It is a ploy. It is a big splashy headline. It is him truth socialing. It is JD Vance saying "boss on fire."
Boss on fire.
Emoji, without anything substantive and an opportunity for at least the people online to do to mouth off, to say their opinions, and then we move on. And I don't know what we'll see from this. And again, would be thrilled if my mother's migraine medicine didn't cost $1,000.
Yeah, migraine stuff is expensive.
Yeah,
every month.
It just seems like the main effect initially will be what we've already talked about, which is that prices everywhere will go up so that we aren't paying this low number that poorer countries are paying. We're not getting the deal we want, and we're also making other people suffer for it, which is like their whole MO. Like, it's America first, and not just America first, but everybody else last is the goal.
Well, right. And the executive order specifically says we're going to get these in line with comparably developed nations, but that is not really, like, how specific is that? What's the list of developed nations that we're being compared to? And who makes that list?
Do they have socialized medicine?
Well, sure. Like, we're at a disadvantage because we don't have socialized medicine, right? Okay, so this is a clip of Trump and explaining one of his major inspirations for wanting to do this.
I mean, I'll tell you a story. A friend of mine who's a businessman, very, very, very top guy. Most of you would have heard of him. A highly neurotic, brilliant businessman, seriously overweight, and he takes the fat shot drug. And he called me up, and he said, President, he calls me, he used to call me Donald, now he calls me President, so that's nice respect. But he's a rough guy, smart guy, very successful, very rich. I wouldn't even know how we would know this, but because he's got comments. President, could I ask you a question? What? I'm in London, and I just paid for this damn fat drug I take. I said, it's not working. He said, I just paid $88. And in New York, I pay $1,300. What the hell is going on?
So this is the inspiration behind it, isn't it?
Yeah, his rich friend, Elon Musk.
Elon Musk.
Well, I don't know who it is. It's someone who he thinks is very fat, and when they take it, it doesn't work. He says, President, I said it doesn't.
Who else would it be?
Oh my God. Yeah. So you pay $88 for Ozempic in London, and it's $1,300 here. The rich people can't get their Ozempic cheap, so that's why I'm doing this. He's so rich. I don't know how rich he is. How do we know it?
He couldn't even pretend that he knew a poorer person, a slightly less well-off person. He's like, yeah, my rich friend can't pay the amount of money he can absolutely afford, like a thousand times over. Like he couldn't do it for a second. Just like my rich buddies can't do their fat shot, which isn't working, by the way. What a guy. That was really funny.
It's very
That was funny. Lots of thoughts.
Also, to lib out a little bit, he looks especially peach today. Like it looks like he ate the wrong Wonka bar or something. It's changing his color. He looks so bronzed and weird.
You know what, Jonathan, to be fair,
Cokes.
we are in the in-between seasons here. We're transitioning from winter to summer, and no one's got their skin tone right. It's really hard to match your makeup to your neck. We all can relate, right?
Sure. No,
totally
I just
true.
I think it looks like he's jaundiced, and I'm sticking to that. He also, we're not going to play this clip. He also says he made up the word equalizing.
What?
He's like, basically what we're doing is equalizing. It's a new word that I came up with. I think it's probably the best word.
Stop making stuff up and telling me that it happened.
It has happened.
Like, absurd.
Basically, what we're doing is equalizing. There's a new word that I came up with, which I think is probably the best word. We're going to equalize.
The second term is much worse in so many different ways, and we're going to get to some of the ways. He's still doing that thing where just like whatever he heard, he's like, yeah, I should do whatever. Like the Alcatraz thing, very clearly, like you were watching a movie and you're like, oh, Alcatraz, we should reopen that.
We have the famous prison here.
Why don't
is
we?
it not? Yeah.
Why don't we like lean into this nostalgia that we all crave for whatever reason?
Exactly.
And do that.
He saw Goldfinger and he's like, I gotta go to Fort Knox and see if the gold is there.
Like it's just that, and then just like, yeah, I was talking to my friend.
Who's fat?
My fat friend. I said it's not working.
It's probably Elon though, right? But probably not, because I don't think he'd be like, it's $88 here, but so it's $1,300.
I do think someone needs to check to see if Elon has lived or has been in London lately.
Well, you know who's $400 million richer now? Probably
Not Donald Trump, surely.
Donald Trump, the president, because he's getting a luxury jumbo jet from Qatar.
Another 2017 story for us to chew on, it seems.
A palace in the sky. It's a $400 million jumbo jet. But look, it's not a bribe. It's not corruption because it's being donated to like the government for him to use for Air Force One. And then after he's done being president, it won't stay Air Force One. It then gets donated to the Trump Presidential Library Foundation, where Trump will continue to use the plane that is his.
He'll keep using the plane. Okay, just to clarify, he'll keep using the plane. I've seen a lot of people be like, well, a similar thing happened with Reagan, and there was a library, and all these sort of like, and this decommission, and so on. Trump took piles of files and kept them in all the bathrooms. Like, he's not going to let them take the plane. That's absurd.
It's like, if you did we're not going to do it here. If you did a list of imagine if a Democrat did blank, Like how many literally hundreds of things we've done, dozens just
So
since
many,
this administration
every week.
started.
Every fucking week.
Like if Obama
This is one of them.
accepted a jet from a country
Well,
and is like, this is
not-
mine.
If Obama did price fixing on
Of course,
Yeah,
all of
just
this,
today.
literally all of this.
like-
But it's important, an important detail that may or may not be related, but almost certainly is. Just last week, Trump announced the construction of a $5.5 billion luxury golf course in Qatar. So how is that not related in some way? But also, again, underscoring the swiftness with which they would have lost their minds had this been any other president.
And
but
if his
Donald
attorney
Trump.
general who signed off on this was a lobbyist for the very nation gifting the jet.
Another important detail. Again, interesting online though. I did see a not insignificant amount of, plenty of people carrying water for the president, no questions asked. But people saying like, I don't know, I don't think this is a problem, but it's probably not a good look. The Dems will lose their heads about this one. Like,
I love that stuff.
Laura Loomer in her
oh yeah, Laura Loomer is a good. But again, I
In her
love
post,
the president.
though,
I would take a bullet for the president.
she said it
but
twice. I would take a bullet for a president, but this is some corrupt bullshit. But let me assure all of you, I would die for this man. You know, it sucks to
cowardly.
have the president run a cult and to have so many millions of people be in a cult. And it sucks even worse that the entire point of the cult is let's harm all the people not in the cult. Let's harm everyone who doesn't like the guy in charge of the cult.
And let's also, like, whenever we do that and whenever we talk about anything, let's proudly point out, by the way, I'm in a cult. I'd take a bullet for him twice, apparently. I'd take a lot for him, actually, allegedly. Sorry, folks. But like, it's like they have to go out of their way to be like, by the way, like, obviously, hail to the king and so on and so forth. And like, how many rings do I get? I'll kiss all the rings. It's fine. It's fine. But not a good look, folks. But king for life.
Obviously,
not a good look for the king for life.
Obviously, Prince Joffrey is a wonderful young leader. And I would do anything for him. I would fall on his sword, King Joffrey. However, I have to have some issue with some of the decisions.
That purple in his face, not a good look.
Not a good look. Yeah, I have a problem with him dying of poison.
It's just like, again, it's like 2017 stuff where it's like, well, surely you're not going to take this gift.
He said he'd be stupid not to.
He did this all the time. He does it all the time. It's like, well, yeah, it'd be stupid not to break the law, take advantage of people.
The number of times I almost like resent it at this point because my instinct, as a lot of other people have this instinct, is to go read the emoluments clause. And like, I'm done with it. People are like, well, what about this? Like, okay, no, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It's so
Nothing
frustrating.
matters.
Nothing does. The first episode of this show before it was independent was about the emoluments clause. It was like day one. We're like, by the way, look at all the unconstitutional stuff he's doing. It's right there. It says it. And then it's like, yeah, then 10 years pass. It's like, okay, take your planes, whatever.
Have we talked about his son's and his crypto scheme where you can literally, who cares about the jet? You can literally just give money to the president. And if you give enough money to the president, you get to hang out with the president. There's just but then you need to have a quid pro quo. So if you don't get anything for that, if there's no promise that you'll give something,
if you just happen to meet with them, if you happen to.
I just hate it.
It's frustrating.
We've got so many more years of this exact conversation. We've had so many years of it. You, Cody, talking about 2017, running through the history. I just felt this weight in my chest sinking into my stomach of like, it's just this conversation every day till we die.
They should have put him in prison on January 22nd.
I mean, yes, obviously, huge mistake for the Republicans being like, it's over. So we're just going to let this go. No one's ever going to like this guy again. Remember how angry the Republicans who were almost killed in the Capitol building?
They were also upset.
They were very upset. They were like, this is done. They were thankful to be out of it because of the outrage at him for lying about the results of the presidential election, which now, like,
luckily there was a pandemic, and so they all got COVID, and then their memories kind of started to like deteriorate. So now they just don't remember how they felt.
their ability to get these huge bribes kind of relies on them, suppressing all dissent. So that's what they did this weekend. So these are two kind of stories I'll combine here. ICE arrested the mayor of Newark, and the Department of Justice is now threatening members of Congress who were going to protest an ICE detention facility in the city, which I guess they're saying they didn't get the correct permitting to do it, but also members of Congress are allowed to go into detention centers without notice. They were kept out, and then ICE arrested them, and then the DOJ is claiming that the members of Congress, one of whom is 80, attacked the ICE officers, and now they're
and you see
who
the
knows
footage,
what we're gonna
and it's
do.
just so clearly not what's happening. It's just chaotic scene too, and like a lot going on. But
And the other part of this, which I want to mention before it opens up, is that Stephen Miller, the president, the awful man who's the deputy chief of staff for policy, said, we're thinking of suspending habeas corpus so that we can continue grabbing people off the street and not letting them challenge their detention, which is what the writ of habeas corpus is. And you can't suspend it in the Constitution unless there's a rebellion or an invasion. And they say there's an invasion, despite there not being an invasion.
That's so convenient.
So,
They've been saying
but they're only going to do it for the illegals, and we know who the illegals are. They don't need the due process, so we can,
because we
it's
know,
like
and we know because
and the illegal sympathizers probably eventually.
Yeah, what an embarrassing time to have to defend this thing. But everyone's out there doing it. Tim Pool's out there being like, well, yeah, it's like in wartime, of course, like sometimes you have to do what you got to do. Well, we're not at war, Tim. We're actually not at war, Tim.
I thought this is our peaceful president that doesn't believe in war.
One small piece and big piece, one small big piece of a much broader picture that involves them for decades, calling anyone they don't like a terrorist, and saying that there's an invasion going on when it's just people immigrating or seeking asylum. Using that language over and over and over again, that lets you have Stephen Miller out there being like, well, yeah, it's an invasion. Remember, we've been talking about it for so long. End of conversation. That's not what invasion means. That's not what's going on. We're not at war, Tim.
It's so scary.
Fucking
it's
idiot.
Genuinely terrifying. I know that there's people making that argument, trying to justify this, at least for now, not to to again cite what I see online. There was also a bunch of people saying things along the lines of, this might be a fine idea, but the Democrats are going to think it's dictatorship or it's authoritarianism. And we have to be careful to not do anything that the Democrats would call an authoritarianism.
They think they have to be careful?
I'm paraphrasing.
I don't even know what that means.
But I did see a number of people responding like, well, I think it's fine, but I think the Democrats will call this authoritarianism, and we have to be careful. That's the gist of it.
It's a problem that you think it's fine.
It's so fascinating, but it goes, to me, it's the same tenor of response to the private jet of, this doesn't look good, folks. I think it's okay, but those freaks on the other side are going to flip out, so we have to be careful about how we package this.
Yeah, we gotta be careful. You don't have to be careful, folks. Just loud and proud. Say it. Say it's
Might
awesome.
as well.
Might as well. Like, it does not matter.
But I guess I say all that because it's interesting to see that in the first blush, that be that kind of a response, at least from some people. But that's the thing that I expect to get chipped away, because you got your Tim Pools, you got people out there making an argument of this is actually fine.
Yeah, just say it's
and
good.
then you'll see those same people become desensitized. It's fine, and those freaks just need to calm down. And authoritarian is good, actually.
There's a poll that went around a few days ago that I thought was really, really interesting. And this really just like falls right into it. It was basically like, how open are members of the party in like sort of dissenting views and stuff? Like, do you think people who believe X should be allowed in the Democratic Party or in the Republican Party, and it sort of split that down. It was very, very interesting. But one of the questions was, do you think people who believe in authoritarianism should be allowed in your party? And Democrats were about 3% said it was okay, I think. Republicans, 18%. And I think that kind of says it all.
Stephen Miller despises the Constitution. Like, he just doesn't like the thing.
He doesn't like it. Yeah. He doesn't like that it stops him from doing the Hitler things he wants to do.
And look, like, I'm sure everyone has a couple problems with it. Like, I don't know. Like, every time the gun control conversation comes up, I recognize that there are constraints in the form of the Second Amendment. Yeah, we can quibble over well-regulated militia, all that stuff. But, like, I get it. Unless that thing is out of there, we're going to have lots of guns in this country. Stephen Miller doesn't seem to think like, well, it's in there, so we are constrained by that, and we have to try to change public opinion to the point where decades from now we can get rid of the writ of habeas corpus.
Exactly, yeah.
Right? But like, he's just saying, we're going to do this. Actually, it's clear and it says it's fine. When you don't need to be a constitutional scholar to be at the reading level, to read it and say that is just legitimately not what it says, man. Take it up with the Constitution, change it if you hate it that much.
And they might, but they'll do it in a new way that they think they can do.
This 3/4 of the states thing seems hard, so we're going to do it in the way where Trump says it.
They will find,
and they'll write it in.
Exactly. And then it'll be different, and then it'll be on the wall and be like, what does that mean, Mr. President? Like, it's about unity. It's about love. I'm sure it is. Yeah, it's very clear just sort of what they're doing. And to all the right-wing influencers out there who are not listening to this, oh, folks, you gotta realize what you're doing. Please stop. You gotta stop. Oh, you gotta stop, folks. You won't. It's fine.
They're very, very confident, and probably for good cause right now, but they're very, very confident that this stuff will never apply to them, right? It's only for Venezuelan gang members, and it already is not. I mean, I can't bear to watch the videos of the mother clutching her babies.
I can't.
The people like driving their kids somewhere and they stop at a gas station and they're taken away and the kids are left there.
Just doing this stuff, and like, because they're trying to frame this like, oh, it's an invasion and like these are terrorists. You know, if you key a Tesla, you're a terrorist these days. But they're framing it as like an invasion, and as this stuff happens, they're treating it like a war. You have Tim Pool out there being like, we actually are at war technically if you think about it, and if like. I know, Katy. I know it's absurd. He's an absurd person. But
I can't.
If you're doing that and you're trying to frame like, well, we're being invaded. This is wartime. This is a new type of warfare, and we need to treat this like we're at war. First of all, Tim, you're so stupid. You're going to lose all your rights, you dumb idiot. But also, as these things happen, because we're not, is the thing. We're simply not. And so if you have the state acting like we are at war and treating average citizens or migrants like we are at war, people will notice that, you'd think, over time, of like, this isn't an invasion. Why are we acting like this when I go outside and it's normal? We're not at war. Yet they're treating it like it is. Again, it's like that sort of like, well, you hope that eventually people will sort of see these problems, but it's just hope. You just gotta maybe
Some of them.
Maybe some of them.
Ability to challenge one's detention is not 20 million trials, as they like to say now. Oh, you want to hold 20 million trials? First of all, even if that is what it meant, that's the Constitution, so you have to.
That's what
exactly,
it means.
yeah.
That's what it means. But
it isn't. Like, the due process in immigration law is different. There's like hearings.
Hearings
are the ability
same
to challenge
as trials,
your detention
yes.
would be a hearing. I think it probably should be more. I think there should be a different way and a longer process than just going in front of an immigration judge or them saying, okay, you're gone. But like, the ability to challenge what you believe is an unlawful detention is in like it predates the Magna Carta. Like, it is a foundational principle of human rights going back a long, 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 long time. And Stephen Miller hates it. Donald Trump doesn't know what it is. They say it's the corpus. It's a great word. It sounds like you're dead. I don't know.
To your point, Jonathan, like these are not to be like, well, this is a tradition or like this is an old law, so we have to like follow it. But like, there's a reason it is so old, and it is an important right, and it's so very weird to see people just sort of like dismiss these things because they've already done the work of being like, well, the Constitution doesn't apply to illegal immigrants or refugees or whomever. But stuff like this, it's just so, it's not bizarre to me because I know that they have their target and like, well, it doesn't apply to me. I need to punish my enemies. I get that. But it's like, if you think they're rights and you think America is the best country in the world and all these like important rights, like, oh, these inalienable God-given rights are so important. We need to have this sacred document and it applies to everybody in the land. Shouldn't you want that to apply to everybody because they're so important and good? Like, isn't that what rights should be? That like, yeah, they apply to everybody. They're rights. You have this right. Whereas they're really trying to frame them like privileges. And I know technically all rights are privileges because the state grants them to you and they can take them away at any time. But they seem to really like that idea. And they're like, well, no, it's like they're like rights for me. But unless they change it to somebody else doesn't deserve it, in which case that's fine. It's just, I don't know, it's just very silly to me.
The due process, that like simple phrase that there's the writ of habeas corpus is the way you determine who in your society you want in jail and who you don't. Even before the trial, can they detain you for things? It is so foundational, and it's just saying we don't care if they grab a few of you as well. Like, it doesn't matter. They could just take you, and that they've suspended it, and you might be helping the gang or whatever.
And you can say like, oh, it's because of the gangs or the terrorists. No, it's whoever they want.
First off, bad enough that this is happening in the way that it's happening right now in terms of immigrants. But once you've established this as something you can do, it doesn't stop there.
No, it's the buckle up fuckos administration.
But also, just not for nothing, real quick, some immigration or asylum is going to be expanded specifically for white South Africans.
They happen to be white, I think is what Trump said.
They happen to be white, yeah, of course. I've seen so many people, Hercules said it, Kevin Sorbo, sorry, and a bunch of other people have been like, so isn't it interesting that the left doesn't have a problem with immigration when it's about white people? And it's like, could you just rephrase that to be about yourself for a second and consider that you are fine with this and you're upset with the other one? Like, they think they're like, interesting point. You don't seem to have a problem with this. Like, you don't have a problem with this, but you do with everybody else. Do you not see?
It's frustrating.
It's so frustrating. Like, actually, you seem to have a problem with this, but not with non-white. Well, what does that say about you, sir? Mr. Hercules.
Ramesa Ozturk got out for now, which is great. I'm happy about that. I was happy about that.
We're happy about that.
We're happy about that. We do love, and I'm happy about you interjecting that because we like to end this show on a happier note. If at all possible, which we did today.
Yes,
Mission
we did.
successful.
That's the happier note.
Mission successful.
All right, that's it. We're done. We're at it here, folks. Classic catchphrase.
One of those things people say.
And we love you very much.
Much.